Good evening, folks.
Good evening.
We're here to discuss some paint problems or methods and procedures that I use and I'm familiar with, and maybe discuss what you're doing or what problems you're having with your paints. So basically, I use all Brodaks products. Somebody had asked me if I was going to talk about some toners, and I do use automotive toners once in a while when I find a color like on an automobile that I want, or a toner color, and I usually go with the base coat clear coats, and I ask them to leave the clear out when they mix the color. But sometimes you'll need to have the binder added, for that's the drying additive. And then I add, I mix mine 1-to-1. Like I'll take a pint of automotive red that I'm real happy with, and a pint of Brodaks dope clear, and I'll mix those together 1-to-1. Mix them up, and basically I'll usually either start with a white base on my airplane, or I'll start with a color that's corresponds to the color I'm going to use close to it. If it's red, I might paint 2 coats of red on the plane, then you shoot that with 2 coats. Go from there. Build up. How do you guys prepare your planes? Do you prepare any?
Yeah.
Okay.
Usually I start with a couple clear coats, and then a couple filler coats, which is just basically clear mixed with a little bit of baby powder.
Yeah.
And then a couple more clear coats, and then I start with the color after that.
Do you sand your wood prior to putting any clear on it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have it all sanded and then go over it with some tack cloth just to get rid of most of the
Dust.
so it's fairly clean. And but I don't do any of the real fancy, like I still just do brush finish. I haven't tried using the spray gun yet, because I'm just not at that level of finishing. My part is more like the decorating with, I use like trim sheet and cut it and do my design.
Anybody else, how do they start their paint process?
Well, the airplane that I'm working on now has been covered with polyspan.
Okay.
It's been doped with Randolph non-talking nitrate.
Okay.
Then maybe 3 or 4 coats. Then I added zinc stearate to it. And
Pardon?
Well, I added some of that zinc stearate to it that Randy Smith markets.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be like the talcum powder, but lighter.
Like a primer?
Right. Well,
Okay.
and I added that to the dope and put a couple more coats of dope
Okay.
on it that way, and then I sand that, and now I'm ready to prime it, and I'll probably use Sparky's DC 540 at that point.
Okay. Do you do paint work on airplanes?
I do. This my plane for the Nats will be the first one I'm trying to do
Okay.
reasonably well.
Okay.
The wing is polyspan. The body I put in the carbon bale.
Carbon bale?
Right. And probably 3 coats of 50-50 dope and thinner,
Okay.
and maybe 5 coats on the polyspan.
And don't get it upside down.
No, I got that right.
Right.
You want to make sure shiny side up, just like the guy that was having his buddies lay the sod, kept hollering out the windows, green side up, green side up. So you got to have that shiny side
So
up.
I was really here to hear how you do it, because obviously the Nats is coming up soon, as you know, and I need to get the paint on quicker than I'd like.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking going with an automotive if I can find someone who, has a facility that I can spray it.
So you're thinking about automotive clear and
Automotive color. and clear.
everything?
Yeah.
Okay. Because that's basically the only way to do it with automotive paints. Because if you use automotive paints and then put your dope over the top of them, or vice versa actually, if you use dope and then paint automotive clear over it, it never bites in. It just lays on top of it. And whenever it gets chipped and peeled, to repair it's a real pain. You really have to work at it to repair that, because as soon as you start putting on more dope over the top of where the clear's been repaired, it just starts lifting, just like lacquer over or enamel. So, but the way I like to start my bases, and I don't know how Bob does his, but I like to sand my balsa wood a little bit, fuselage, wings, what have you. And I'll put like on 3 coats of clear, and I'll sand that very lightly. And I'll put 1 more coat of clear on, and then I use Brodaks primer. And I prime, this is all before any covering goes on.
Before any covering goes
I
on.
do all my primer work. And then I sand as much of that primer off as you can, because there's just gonna be a little bit left in some grooves and stuff.
Right.
Okay.
You can go back. I like to put a little coat of primer. Let's say I have some on the stab or something. Put a little clear, 1 coat of clear, brush it on. Brush another coat of primer on. Let it set a couple hours or overnight. And I'll sand that down and get rid of those little bad areas yet and stuff. Then I'll come back and put like a couple coats of clear on. I'll sand that very lightly. And those are thinner coats of clear than 50-50 after I get to that point.
Right.
Maybe 60-40, somewhere in there. And then I like to-
60% thinner and
Pardon?
40% clear, or 60
40% clear, 60% thinner.
thinner?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I like to put a couple, like I said, a couple coats of that clear on, sand it very lightly. And then before I put any covering on, I'll go around all the perimeters and everything with another coat of light clear mixed pretty thin. And then I
This
get
is the
my-
clear you're gonna use to attach the covering with, right?
Yeah.
And that's,
And then I use a silk span, or I'm doing a Viking right now, and I'll be using the poly span on it. But if I'm using silk span, whether it's dyed or regular, get it wet, lay it on, stretch it out, go around the perimeter and stuff. I don't go over the ribs,
right.
just the perimeter. Wait till that gets good and dry and stuff, and paint the whole edge of the balsa wood and everything. And then I'll probably work, before I do any sanding, I probably start with 5 good coats of clear.
On the poly span.
Yeah, poly span or on the
Well, silk
silk
span.
span.
Yeah,
Either one.
50-50 about
Pardon?
50-50.
Yeah, back to about 50-50. And
You're brushing this at this point?
brushing.
You're brushing
Yeah.
at this point.
I'll sand that lightly and see if there's any other imperfections there. If there's little scratches and stuff, I use what's called, it's a Sickens product called Combi. John sells it here, I provide it to him, they won't sell it to him. And it's a body putty like the old bad nitro stand used to be.
Yeah, the red nitrous stand.
But this stuff doesn't shrink. But
Okay.
you have to use it the way you're supposed to for very minor imperfections.
Right.
Because anything's going to happen if you try to fix a big divot with it. You put it on, unless you put on maybe 2 coats of that, and then you sand it and stuff. It's going to come back and crack or shrink down and look like the devil. But for minor scratches or imperfections, a few little drain places left, you just use a squeegee, put that on as thin as you can.
Mm-hmm.
Sand it lightly separately with 320. Come back and brush a coat of clear on.
That'll feel like rain area.
Yeah.
When you're brushing your clear coats, let's say on the wing,
Pardon?
when you're brushing your clear coats on the wing,
Mhm.
are you going span wise or are you going cord wise with your brush strokes?
All different directions.
All
Doesn't
different.
really matter.
I'm not really particular about how I do, but
Okay.
it seems like when I get started on them, I'm usually holding the plane, and I'll go like this, and I'll start on the trailing edge, and then I'll come down by the fuselage, and I'll start on the leading edge, and I get about halfway down the leading edge, then I start doing the bays,
Right.
and I catch up with the bottom one, because the trailing edge is all done. Then I'll finish the bottom, and I'll do that, and I'll do my wing tips and everything,
Okay.
and I don't know, that's just somehow I've gotten into doing painting like that. Sometimes I'll paint across. It's just,
So you're building up several coats of dope,
Yep.
clear dope at this point.
yeah, I've got probably, before I start putting any paint on or anything, I've probably got a good 4 coats, 5 coats maybe on it.
Okay.
And then I look at it and I say, okay, this looks pretty good. And I'll lightly sand that. Maybe some areas you can say, okay, I can sand that a little more and get that imperfection out. And then I'll start putting on some base color.
Are you sanding with like a soft block at that point?
I sand a lot by hand, like on your rib caps,
Yeah.
and I round all my rib caps, the edge of them.
You do. Okay.
Yeah, I round off just slightly. You don't need to
Right.
take it down a lot, but that keeps you from sanding through
Helps you
those
from
edges.
cutting through.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like on my leading edge, that back in here.
Well, your leading edge
Around
sheet
it even.
meets the bag. You-
Yeah,
comes to-
anywhere there's sharp balsa wood,
Right.
I sand that just a little bit.
Just break that edge.
Yep,
off.
just break that sharp edge.
Because the secret to not sanding through, it's really just patience, right? You gotta,
Yes,
because you want to sand the open bay,
yep.
but as you sand up onto the border, you have the risk of cutting through.
And you have to be careful when you're sanding, because a lot of people, when they use the block or even by hand,
Yeah.
they sand, well, the back of the sandpaper is hitting this sharp edge back here that's been dulled a little bit,
Yeah.
and you aren't realizing you're sanding that.
Right.
Lo and behold, you look down and you've got a hole.
You cut
Across
through.
it, yeah.
You cut through it. Right.
So then I go ahead and I'll take the plane out in my garage and I'll shoot on a couple coats of white, or red or blue, whatever I'm going to paint the airplane. And then
This
I'll
is dope.
dope, yes. And then
Are
I'll-
you thinning that dope 50/50?
No, that's probably 70-30.
Because you got to get it to come through
Yeah.
the gun, right?
70-30, I want it to spray good, lay out a good smooth pattern. And I may even go 3 coats, if it doesn't cover real well. And then I'll take that back in my house after it dries and stuff, and I'll start sanding the hell out of it. Because I've got 5 good coats of clear underneath it. So I don't care
Right.
what happens to the base color. Because when I'm done with that, I can come back and you can just fog that in to fill it so that you have a nice silver or nice solid base. And then you can put your red color over it, the reds, other red.
I mean, at that point, if the base color was red or blue or whatever it was, when you take it back inside and start sanding, you can, if you remove all the blue, you're going to see the clear. You're going to see the clear come back through.
Well, you'll be able to tell when you've sanded into the clear.
Right.
And you'll be
And
able
at
to
that
tell.
point, you can say, okay, I've gone too
No,
far
yeah.
in this area.
But if you need to sand more, you can, because as long as you aren't going to have to do any more clear work as long as you don't sand through the bare balsa wood.
Right.
Yeah. So then I go start spraying from there, and I'll start putting my two, 3 coats of clear on top of my color. Then I'll do all my graphic works, and then I'll put 5 coats on. I'll sand that down. I'll put 3 more on, sand it, and I usually don't have any edges left. And the nice thing about dope is it dries up a lot of weight. Automotive paints, that doesn't happen with automotive paints. When you paint it and you put on X number of ounces of paint,
That's what it is.
That's
what it
what's
is.
gonna be.
It doesn't evaporate off.
yeah, no, it does not.
Okay.
And the clear is very heavy, so the guy needs to not use the high solids clear. You have to use low solids clear, a couple coats, and if it's laid on properly, boy,
But it's
shines great. I mean,
right. It's a
you aren't gonna have to sand it and rub it or do anything.
It's a compromise between it being thin enough.
Yeah.
I mean, I've used it on 2 of the airplanes that I have here. I've used base coat, PPG base coat, clear coat, and
Yeah,
the base coat goes on. It covers very well, and it dries flat,
yes.
essentially completely
As soon as you
flat.
put your clear on, you bring
Yeah.
it back to life.
Right, and
Yeah.
but the key with the clear coat is not too much because
Yeah.
it's
And if you aren't going to have any graphic works and stuff on it, you still need 3 or 4 good coats of clear to protect it, because when you clean your plane all the time, you're wiping that clear and you're taking some of that off. And pretty soon, if the plane lasts long enough, you'll start saying, oh shit, I'm wiping some color here. And that's because you're actually polishing that and not realizing it.
In terms of equipment, what kind of, I don't have a compressor, I don't have with a tank.
Okay?
What do you need? You need a tank, right?
If you're going to use an HVLP, you're going to need a good tank. You're going to need something in the quality of at least a 5 horse with a 60-gallon tank.
Okay.
And that's because HVLPs require volume. And you can have the air pressure, but you've got to have that volume of air running through. Model airplanes aren't affected quite as much as a car, so a guy could get by probably with a smaller one. But if you paint a car with an HVLP and you have a small compressor that doesn't put out volume, as you paint the side of it, you can hear the gun going down lower and lower,
right.
because you can tell it's just not spraying as well.
Okay.
And then it'll start stuccoing
Right.
instead of being nice and smooth. But you could probably, with your little HVLPs and stuff that a person would buy from Harbor Freight, if a guy had a good 2.5 horse compressor and you had a tank, extra tank with it, so you could have some volume,
Right.
You could probably,
You could do it.
yeah, you could do an airplane probably pretty easy with that. So,
Yeah, I got a 2-horse compressor and a 10-gallon tank, and I don't have a problem with it.
okay. Yeah.
But I
Good
yeah,
10-gallon tank, even a little bigger if you can.
Are there some colors of dope, maybe paint in general, that I've had poor experience with yellow? Just doesn't seem to have a lot of pigment.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, if you want a yellow.
No, I don't want yellow.
But if you were gonna use a yellow,
Yeah.
you're gonna wanna go to some automotive pigment
Okay.
and either add it to your dope or add it to the clear like I
Oh,
suggested.
okay.
Get it as close as you can to what you've got here for the dope.
Okay.
Yellows, they don't cover very well at all.
No.
And my experience, a lot of people, they always use a silver base.
Right.
Well, a silver base, if you've ever noticed you crash a plane, the paint will peel off that silver
Yes.
base for some reason.
Yes.
Now, also if you paint yellow over silver, you're gonna have to put an awful lot of yellow on to make it yellow because it's gonna be green.
Yeah.
It's-
Yeah, I've experienced that.
And that's why I like white with mixed with polar gray or white, because those anything that covers those pretty decent.
It is.
And if you ever have a bleeding problem, a color bleeds through,
Right.
grab some black. Paint your area where it's bleeding through. Let that dry. Come back and paint your airplane. You won't have any problem with it.
Really?
Huh.
Black will seal it out. If it doesn't, you've really got a problem. John had called me a few years ago, and he was having a problem with something bleeding through. And I told him, I said, you just go ahead and paint that black. Just put one good coat on, cover it good. I said, then you go ahead and paint the color you want. And I said, it'll be fine. Yes.
I have a question on, and I've been doing it, and I don't know if it's cool or kosher. You were talking about clear coat over dope.
Yes.
I had a problem with it. You're talking about the sheeting where it was pulling it off, and I got to thinking the dope is the urethane's mechanical bond, and dope's a chemical bond.
Yes.
What do you use to clean your gun? Lacquer thinner, and it doesn't curdle.
I know it.
So what I did was I used a 4-to-1 clear coat.
Yes.
Acme clear, cheap shit.
Yeah.
4 clear, 1 activator, and then a little bit more than 1 dope thinner.
Okay.
And I haven't had a problem with it sheeting off.
And it dries.
And it dries perfect.
And you know why it dries?
Harder.
Yes. Because all the clear or the reducer, if he'd used the reducer instead of the thinner, it would dry. And all that is a vehicle to transfer it from the gun to what you're painting. Because it evaporates. That part does evaporate.
So
So
why does it bind and it doesn't sheet off the way I'm doing it?
Because you do have some lacquer thinner in there,
Right.
and it's going to give a bite on it.
Right.
And you've probably sanded your airplane
I
preparing
give it some tooth,
Okay.
600 tooth,
Okay.
because I know
You could even 800 to be fine.
that urethane is a mechanical bond, and,
Yeah.
and I learned from my painting experience from years ago.
Yeah.
So that's the way I'm doing that. And it seemed to be working. I just wondered if it was kosher.
When you add that lacquer thinner, that gives it enough tooth to bite into that and hold on to it better. Now, have you repaired any?
Yep.
And it's successful?
Yep. I did.
You can do dope over that too?
What I do is sand it, but you can't flood it with dope thinner.
No.
You can't, if
So
you
you start with dry coats?
dry coats, like I did the leading edge on my Continental XL, and repaired it, and that was all urethane on that, but I doped over that, right to the line, and then stepped back the line, and then cleared it with urethane again, just in that
Okay.
procedure, and I didn't have a problem. It's spooky. I mean, it's not kosher.
You may run into a problem someday, and you may not. Because Marv Denny, anybody here know who Marv Denny was? Marv Denny was out of an area close to Wichita, Kansas.
Right.
And he and I became fairly good friends. And he told me one day, he says, Bob, he says, these people are always talking about using automotive thinners and dope, and that there's no problem with it and stuff.
Yeah,
And he says, so I did a test. He says, I took a jar of dope and mixed it with Brodak Click Dope thinner. Shook that up, stirred it real good, set it on the counter. Took one with automotive, and I think he used,
3608S,
I think he used DuPont
3608S.
3608, yes. And I think he used one with PPGs, I don't remember which one. Might have been when they still could get DTL 10. That was still a good paint thinner, so you could paint with it. It was a fast thinner. And mix those up, you set them on a shelf and let it set 2 weeks. And he says, the automotive one with the automotive thinners,
Separated.
they all separate.
What they did.
Boy,
Does the Brodak dope stayed just as it was. So that does tell you that there is a chemical bonding period between the products that you got, and if you mix it different, like they say you shouldn't, that it can happen.
I found using the automotive thinners, the paint, especially in the humidities, blushes more, and it doesn't give that crystal shine. It kind of dull, you know.
Well, if you got enough humidity about anything, blushes pretty bad.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, I never was having a problem with that. But I painted my Big Magician, and it blushed pretty bad. I've never taken the time to polish it out. The thing about blushing is it doesn't usually happen in the color. If it happens in the color, the thing you want to be sure of is that you let that first coat flash out. And if it blushes, let it flash good, so that means all the solvents are gone.
Mm-hmm.
Then you come back with your second coat till it's covered. Let's say you take 3 coats to cover, and you let that set there. That blush is going to disappear as soon as you let it, the flash, and you put clear on it, your automotive or whatever.
So if the color coats have blushed, it's just like it's sort of similar to what you said before with the automotive base coat that dries flat, but when you hit it with
but
clear,
as long as you have let all solvents come out, when you
Okay.
put a dope clear back over it, that blush will move up into your first coat of clear. And if you let it flash properly, and as long as you let that flash properly between each coat, when your last coat is done, even if it has blushing in it, when you polish it, that will disappear. Because the heat from polishing it, even by hand, or if you have a small polish or whatever, that heat draws that out of there and takes it out.
let me see.
Blushing is just the paint capturing the moisture in it.
It's
Exactly.
just condensation
Yep.
because of the high humidity
Well,
on the surface of the
I
paint.
try not to use any more than 10% retarder, and I hate using retarder because it melts. I mean, it's
I-
terrible.
I don't like to use retarder at all, but no more than 10%.
Right.
That's a safe amount to do. There was an article in, maybe it was even in Pampa Stunt News years ago, where some guy was painting that, and he put all kinds of retarder in, and it just actually melted all the paint on the plane and stuff.
So the retarder attacks the paint.
You
No.
know, what retarder is retarder is a really high grade of thinner.
Okay.
Dries really super slow. Now,
Okay.
if you got a humid day and you want to keep the humidity out of the paint, you sure in hell don't want something that dries slower,
That's right.
I paint in the air conditioner.
because it has a longer period of time to draw moisture out of the air.
I thought the slow drying kept it from. It slowed the evaporation,
Keeps
so
it
they
from
wouldn't cool the surface and
encapsulating it
condense
in
the
it.
water out of
Yeah,
the atmosphere.
but it can still reverse the thing. I've painted retarder about 10% like you have, and it's never changed a thing in the blushing that I've ever had.
So you know they
I was the same way with
So,
you.
but
You
but
say
if you
you
have
don't really
if you
do
have
that.
air conditioning in your shop
Mhm.
and you've got it to where it's been on
that'll
for
draw the
a week,
humidity down, right?
your humidity's gone out of there, and you should have good luck painting.
Right.
Painting's a science. I mean, it sounds kind of weird that we're in a science project, but it really is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, the mixtures have to be pretty close to spot on. I mean, it's not like we have to measure each drop, but it has to be pretty close to spot on. And I don't like to mix products. If we start with Brodaks, stay with Brodaks. If we start with Aerogloss, stay with... I got 2 quarts of Aerogloss, but I don't have any thinner, so it's no good.
Yep.
And it's got xylene in it, so never gonna get it.
I agree with you. I don't like to mix products.
So along those lines, then, for example, if you're going to use Brodak colors to do
Mhm.
your color, you want to cut that with Brodak's thinner, not like I've got a gallon of 3806S.
No,
I wouldn't use
Don't
it.
cut the Brodak with that.
I wouldn't.
you can use Randolph because Brodak dope is Randolph.
Yeah.
Right.
So you can use Randolph's thinner.
Yeah, you could, yeah.
Okay.
Randolph thinner,
But not DuPont.
No.
No.
3006.
because that's automotive and it's made entirely different.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, ostensibly it cuts the paint, but chemically you're telling me it's not the right
It's not,
combination
yeah.
of materials.
Okay, so I have a question. You're saying like yellow doesn't coat very well, which I've noticed also. What colors would you say coat the best for, like, say, a fuselage or?
Gray.
Yeah.
Yeah. Black, definitely.
Yeah,
Darker colors. Reds usually cover pretty good.
yeah,
If you want yellow, paint your plain white.
yeah.
Start with
Then
Start
paint it
with
yellow.
white and then
And-
put the yellow over
And you'll
top.
achieve two things. You'll achieve the yellow will cover faster, plus you're gonna have a brighter yellow.
Yeah,
Oh, makes the yellow pop
Yeah.
more. I see.
and then if you wanted to do white accent, you've
just
already
take
got
off
the
the
white
white,
there.
Back.
Yeah. You've eliminated some paint.
As a rookie painter, I'm spraying and I get a drip. What do you do with that?
You're gonna, what are you painting at the time you get the drip?
Let's say I'm painting my first color coat.
Your first color?
Let it dry.
Let it dry.
Let it dry. Yes, let it dry.
Sand it.
Yes, take a little water, a little saliva. Amazing what saliva does with sanding.
Mm-hmm.
And my nephew has done body and paint work for years. And,
Just sand the run out. is
and
what-
I told him one day, and I said, have you ever used saliva to sand with? No, he said, I never thought about that. I said, watch this. Cuts a hell of a lot faster than water does. Even with a little soap in the water,
Mhm.
Yeah.
saliva still cuts faster.
Faster.
I thought I'd pass on a tip. It's not airplanes, but you can use it in your body shop. You ever get a run and you can't, and you sand it, it'll sand around when you're trying to sand that up. I don't know if you ever tried this or not, but take the, what is that putty? The polyester putty, and putty the polyester on both sides of the run. And then let that dry thinly,
Yep.
then let that dry, and then sand it all off evenly. And the run's gone, and you don't have to repaint.
Not
Buff it out.
not a bad suggestion. I use a razor blade.
That'll work.
You know, you
So
shave your
razor blade
face.
should do what?
I just take the razor blade, I tip it at an angle, and I start drawing it. And you'll have to do it a few times, and then pretty soon you'll start seeing it, and it'll start peeling off. But if it's a big run, you want to be damn sure you let it set long enough, because if you don't, when you get to the head of the run,
Yeah.
where there's more clear than anything, it pulls the center right out of that baby.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful. They've got little blocks of wood about like this that have little bitty files for sanding out, filing out runs. Ooh, first time I used that was not a good experience.
Try that trick I just told
I
you.
will,
It works perfect.
Yeah.
Wet sanded.
because even if you use a hard rubber block and you try to sand a run out, it doesn't work. It still
No.
does what he says. It sands the paint on both sides, it sands the run, it takes the run down.
Yeah, but it takes
But
the
you-
paint on the sides
But
down
you can
too.
still see it.
But if you protect it with the polyester putty, that's the spot putty
Yeah.
that bodymen use, on both sides, you spread it on with a spreader really thin that protects the paint on both sides.
Yeah.
Then you sand the run, and that polyester is protecting the paint around it. Then you sand the polyester off,
It
and then
comes
buff
right
it
off.
up. Yeah.
Yeah. If you ever have a problem or a question you want answered, any of you, if you have my number or can find my phone number, you can call John. He'll give you my phone number. You can call. I'll try to help you.
Thank you.
I'm always there. I've helped a lot of people.
Good.
I mean, I don't have all the answers, and I learn a lot from people from their questions and stuff too, because it's things sometimes that has never happened to me, and they're wanting to know why this happened to them. So it's a very interesting thing. But painting, different humidity, different pressures. You could take Miss Ashley Red, and you could paint it in the morning. You could paint it in the afternoon. And you could have two different colors.
Yeah.
You could actually get probably about 6 or 7 different colors out of that if you take a paint stick and you start painting with different air pressures, different amount of reducers. It'll lighten, it'll darken. I mean, it's crazy. And people used to say, whites match.
No, no.
Today,
There's a million different whites.
Just
Whites
like-
are one of the worst colors you can have.
Just like black, 9600, 9601, 9602, the PPG colors, and they're so far off. People, black is black. Okay,
But-
red, black, blue, black, green, black.
If you have the car, one of them sitting there, one sitting there, one sitting there, you look at them and you say, well, they're all three black.
Yeah, put them all together.
But then you put them together and you say,
Different colors.
well, shit, this one has a blue cast, or this one has a brownish cast. This one isn't quite as clean.
Yeah,
There's a lot of blacks that you can have.
yeah.
Yeah.
My finishing system that I use is right straight from the 60s. I went all back to the 60s. 3 coats of dope, tissue, 3 coats of dope, except for DC 540. Have you tried that yet?
After the 3 coats of dope, you use the DC 540.
DC what?
DC 540. It's made by Sherman-Williams, but you can't buy it through Sherman-Williams. You have to buy it through Napa. And even Tom Dixon's using it. Everybody that's tried it loves it. It has xylene in it. You have to be kind of careful because of the chemicals in it or make your hands tingle after you're standing for a while. So use gloves if you have sensitive hands. If you don't, which you don't.
DC 540.
DC 540.
And is it an Napa product or is it?
It is a Napa product. It just comes in a spray can. It's $3.29 a can, and it's super stuff.
And what do you use it for?
Primer. It's a light gray primer. You spray it on and sand it all off. And the nice thing about
So
it is,
after you've built up some dope, you go to this.
right. The nice thing about it is you can spray it on, and 5 minutes later, it's flashed and ready to sand.
Yeah, it has to be a lacquer base.
Oh, it is like it's
Yeah,
a
that's
lot
it.
of xylene.
That's why it works good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It took me 25 years to find this shit,
Yeah.
and I keep asking them, "You guys ain't gonna quit making it, are you?"
I've got some other paint, and I don't remember the numbers of it, but I bought it at the PPG store. Actually, no, at Advanced Auto Parts. One is a sealer, and one is a primer sealer. One of them you sand, one you don't. And when I've had an area where I've been working on a car, and I'm ready to paint, and I've got a little spot, and I don't want to just leave that, I want to just, I'll grab that aerosol can, I'll just dust a couple coats on 5-10 minutes, I walk back over, I scuff it lightly, tack it off, I shoot my sealer on,
It's lacquer,
I'm ready to go.
lacquer.
Yeah, well, it has to be.
Yeah.
You call that DC 540?
DC 540.
Napa.
Napa.
Yep.
And you can put dope on top of that?
You can put anything you want over the top of it.
But if it's good filler, light.
Any filler is heavy.
Yeah, well, I
You
understand
have
that,
to
but
get it all off.
yeah, I know that, but
The trick, if you look at my airplane, it's nicely finished
Right.
and it's very light.
Yes.
The reason why it's light is there's no paint on it. I get 1 quart of clear. That's all I get for the
Mm-hmm.
whole airplane. So I take a quart, I pour half of it off, so you got a pint.
Right.
I mix a
50,
pint of thinner,
yeah.
50-50.
Yep.
That's my dope for applying the base down.
Yeah,
Do the base, whatever it takes to prime it, 2-3 cans of primer, sand it all off. No
Okay.
more than 1/2 pint of color. That's
Okay.
all that's on it, and then what's left of the clear is all the clear I got. The shine doesn't come from the paint;
no,
it comes from elbow grease.
you're right, yes, flatness.
And I'm standing with 2,000, 5,000, and a lot of buffing.
I've had a lot of people asking, what do you think's easier to paint, a model airplane or a car? Oh, dummy. I can lean on a car.
Yeah,
It's way easier to paint a car.
car don't have to fly.
I mean, you can sand the hell out of a car, with your block pushing like hell. You take a model airplane, it's all gentle stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So,
There's not much paint on my airplane.
no, and it's a nice looking airplane.
And you can figure when you buy paint, I use all Wix product, which is Randolph.
Yeah,
When you buy paint, you're going to use 1 quart of clear and 1 gallon of thinner,
yeah,
and then 1/2 pint of color. And you can add some other colors. You might be a little more than a 1/2 pint or
sure.
whatever. But if you start, you can ask Billy Werwage. If you start adding more than a 1/2 pint of color, you got a turd. It's heavy.
Yeah.
I have more than that, and most of mine aren't heavy.
How
of my,
heavy is light?
Most of my, 51 ounces for LA 46,
That's good weight. I mean,
Uh,
decent.
65 ounces
So you're a body man, so you know about sanding it all off.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's gotta be on the floor.
you've
Right,
got, you've
yeah.
got to develop a touch for sanding,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because if you don't, you're gonna leave material on there that doesn't need to be.
Yeah, you're just carrying around dead weight.
Now, when I painted my Rainmaster Imperial, I still painted like a car. I sprayed his primer on Brodaks primer on it and had open bays.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I couldn't sand that up, very much of it off because I was so afraid to go through
You'll
it.
cut through it.
So when I got through with the plane, it weighed like 53 ounces and flew with a Fox 35, and I flew it in Tucson, Arizona. And Lou Willard, he was sitting outside the circle, my maiden flight, so many times my maiden flights. And I take it up and I fly it around and it's flying and I check it all out and I go clear through the pattern. He says, I thought you were just going to take it easy. And I said, well, I found that it flew pretty good. And he says, I can't believe that plane flies. He says, 53 ounces with my Fox 35. And I said, well, just go out there and grab my handle. And he flies the handle upside down.
Oh, he does?
Because when he goes like this, that's down. Because he learned to fly clockwise. So he never changed. He just, down is up is down for him. And I watched that and I thought, what the hell's funny about him flying? Watching him flying. And then he told me, I said, oh yeah. But anyway, he flew the plane. He says, I don't believe it. He says, that plane flies pretty damn good. I said, yeah. And I said, 53 ounces. So, but yes, you want to keep them as light as you can, but there is too light in the airplane also.
I haven't seen it yet.
I've seen a couple. When they come apart because somebody says, hey, I built a really light airplane.
Oh, that helps.
And they say, well, what
They
happened?
come apart.
And they said, well, you know, I left this out on the spar instead of this and
That's not-
to make it really light. Yeah. Guess what happens? That wing folds up.
I'd like
Ask
to
Joe
see-
Gilbert.
Oh yeah, I'd like to say something about DC 540. Don't paint the open base.
Right.
Don't what?
Don't paint the open base.
You
Or-
don't prime the open bays with
No.
the DC 540. What do you do?
I tape off the open,
The entire open bay area?
the
You tape
entire
off
open bay and then spray the leading and trailing edge and around the tips.
tips and center section and
Yeah.
stuff like
I
that.
wonder how come yours had all kinds of edges around all the bays.
Yeah, right.
All right, so then you take that mask off. So now you've got a primed perimeter with the
Take
DC
it off,
540.
take it off as soon as you're done spraying.
That's right.
Yeah.
As quick as you're done spraying, then it'll
Because
level up.
if you let that dry, that edge stays
What do
really
you do
hard
with
and
the
sharp.
open bay area?
Yeah. Now what do you do with the open bay area? Because
Nothing.
now it's just dope
dope,
poly
yeah.
span or
Clear,
whatever, right?
clear dope, nothing. See, the only reason the primer's there is to fill the grain. There is no grain
There's
on the
no
open
green in the open
bay.
bays.
Right.
It's taunt, so you don't need that primer. So why would you put it on to carry? If you hold my airplane up to the light, you can almost see through the wing.
A silly question. You don't care about the cap strips that are on the ribs. Or anything.
I sand after clear, you clear them. I sand them with 600.
Right.
And
And you're
I-
not putting DC 540.
No, and I cut my paper in about 1-inch wide strips, and I just use my fingertips and stay off the edges because the edge will sand so quick through you can't believe it. And then you go, oh crap, you got to repair it.
Yeah.
So you're sanding the open bay area. You're staying away from the very edge.
Right,
Yes.
very lightly.
Very lightly.
You don't need a whole lot of sanding because there's
Because
nothing
it's
to sand.
taut covering. There's
Right.
not. You're saying there's not
What
any
he-
grain
What
markings.
he's doing with his primer, the
anything like
aerosol,
that.
I do before I ever get it covered.
Right, you could do that.
You can hear it
And that way I'm sanding off almost
when
all
you
the clear
you
that's
cut
under
through
the coat of
the
primer.
clear, when you're sanding it.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
primer,
when you first start and
I'll usually
when
put
it's
2
down,
coats of primer
you'll
on,
hear the difference.
and I
Right.
sand the hell out of that.
Sounds different.
And
when
there's
you're-
Yeah,
just
and as
very
soon as
little
it
left
sounds
in any of
different,
the wood
stop.
grain.
It's as flat as you want it.
And
So you do all that before you cover it?
Yes.
Before you put the
Yeah.
poly span or silk span or whatever?
In the days of aerogloss, I used to do it your way because you could see it milk. You paint the thing on and you're
Mhm.
sanding between coats, and just as it frosted off, that was it. Then you cover it, and then go that way. And I really don't see much weight difference in
Yeah.
either way, but I just do mine for speed that way, and it worked pretty good.
No DC 540 on the open bays.
No fillers at all.
Mask it off. Shoot the DC 540. Pull the mask off quickly so that the edge levels to some extent.
Make sure you have enough clear dope on the
The
thing.
open bays.
Yeah, so when
or
you
the whole
pull it
thing.
up, it doesn't rip the paper up.
Yeah.
Right.
and don't just yank it off.
No,
Roll it back on
But over
itself.
itself.
right.
He made a real important thing that a lot of people miss about paint. Because it's a chemical bond, you need enough thinner in the thing that it bonds to the
That
next
binds.
coat below. So 60-40 at a minimum, like you were spraying 70-30 or whatever.
That was your color coat. That was
It's
That-
got a bond to the
So
the
that high
substrate.
percentage of thinner helps it partially dissolve the coat
Oh, it
underneath
does.
It melts.
and
Yeah.
chemically
Blends it
become
together.
bonded.
A lot of
Instead of
times,
just laying on the top.
a lot of times when I'm ready to put my final coats of color on,
Yeah.
I don't even sand my airplane. Because I thin my paint so thin, and I make sure that it goes on nice and wet, and I can watch it, and it flows out, and you know it's sticking because lacquer and lacquer.
It's attacking.
You never had to sand lacquer. You could polish it with a buffer, clean it with wax and grease remover. You could paint that fender, and it wouldn't peel off
Mm,
because of the chemical bond.
mm.
It eats into itself, and so does our dope.
Right.
See, dope is really not paint; it's glue, but it is
Yeah.
lacquer
Yeah,
based.
you're right. It's kind of. Yeah,
And that
it's
kinda
a
is
lacquer,
glue.
It's a lacquer-based kind of glue, but all paints have clear in them.
Right.
As the binder,
Yeah. Well, no,
the vehicle.
that's different. It's a vehicle.
Yeah.
They have a paint formula. They mix so much, and they say, okay, now we're going to have to add clear to get a pint or a gallon, and that's why that's additive. The binder goes in right along with that. It's figured right in the formula, and so is the clear. Because if they didn't, you won't have a pint of paint sometimes.
Don't do what Wendy did either. Wendy used to turn his cans upside down and pour off the binder after 6 months.
Hey, you don't do that.
You know, what you get is chalk.
Yeah.
Let's say you're painting white. You don't want to do a white airplane. You want more pigment in that paint. So you turn it upside down and let it sit for a month, and then turn it right, and then pour off the binder. Well, if you let that settle and you got a lot of pigment in the bottom, when you sand it, you got chalk. And it comes off like chalk.
Yeah, it does. And
So-
it'll gum your paper.
Right? Oh, terrible.
Yeah.
So do like Bob suggests. Get automotive pigment. Add to it if you have to have more pigment.
You know, we didn't have a lot of participation tonight because we didn't have a lot of people. And if it's available tomorrow night, if people want to have another little paint seminar,
It's very helpful.
I'm willing.
Yeah.
I mean, I was kind of disappointed when John kind of quit having them, and I guess it was probably because of his health issues and stuff.
Right.
But because I love answering people's questions, and I love to hear some things that I have never heard before. And sometimes people have problems adjusting paint guns.
Right.
I used to I brought paint guns with me sometimes. I brought gold leaf. I gave them a little class on gold leafing and what have you.
Did you see my gold leaf video?
No.
Gold leaf for dummy. It's on YouTube. I'll make it. It is. I did 2 of them. I make it real quick for you. The problem with gold leaf and dope is that the sizing, the glue, is not compatible. It's oil based. So when you spray over it, it kind of does some weird things. So I figured, well, if I take retarder and use it in clear dope,
That's all you need.
I can use that as a sizing. So
Yeah.
what I did was I cut a stencil. I didn't even do the lettering brush trick, where you do the stroke. I just
Yeah.
cut a stencil. I sprayed the dope down on the stencil. I had the leaf all set up, put out the leaf, then took a woman's, pounced off the excess, and then gently peeled the stencil up. That's it. And then shot clear over it, and then outlined it with an ink line, and then
Yep.
finished it up. And I got it on my Continental up there. Perfect.
Works great.
Yeah.
Anything that'll stick and glue to works good. The reason you can't use your thing clear is because you can't touch the shit.
Yeah.
And by the time it's tacky enough to where you could, or not tacky enough to where you can touch it, it may not hold it all on there. So the clear dope works great for sizing.
You know what doesn't work anymore? You know this because of custom cars, and you should know this. One-shot sign painter's paint has no lead in it anymore, so it doesn't cover in one shot.
Well, that's very true.
It's crap.
Yeah.
'Cause
It is different.
I bought some, and I said, I need some. I'm going to do a stripe job on this bike. So I went down the sign, the place where you get the supplies in St.
Yeah.
Louis, and I bought some, and then I brought it back, and it doesn't cover it. Well, they took the lead out. So what do I use? Well, you have to figure it out or whatever. You're on your own.
Some colors will cover in one, but a lot of them don't.
Try orange or red on black. No.
Yeah, that might be, yeah, do red on white then.
The bike was black.
He didn't want a white bike?
No, the bike
Damn.
was black.
I thought I had your solution for you.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we'll just paint the whole bike and then I can stripe it. Yeah, right.
Well, the biggest thing I got out of this was don't put DC 540 in the open bays.
Yeah, don't.
Because there's nothing, what you're saying is there's nothing to
What
fill.
do you guys use for your
It's
fillets?
just taut covering.
I was gonna ask you that.
Super
What do
fill.
you use for fillets?
I use Brodak Superfill.
Yeah, I use it too.
I mean, that stuff,
Super fill.
It's real aircraft.
even if you're in a
Yes.
hurry and you put it on and it looks like hell, it sands easy.
It does.
It
Yes.
works off easy, but boy, I'll tell you, if you can take your time, you got a little water or a little wax grease remover or a little thinner,
Alcohol. What I
alcohol, that'll work too. And just dip your finger in that, you can run that down. Man, you come back that with some 320 a little bit, put your primer and stuff
I
on.
learned a
It's
trick
very
from
light,
a guy that you might know or whatever, but I'll state it. The way I used to do it when the epoxylite microballoons days was tape off each side,
Ain't do that.
Right.
and then, but the guy said, well, Tim Stagg says, well, I got a syringe. I put the stuff in a syringe and then mooey it out in a turd over the thing and then wipe it off. Works perfect.
I mask both sides.
You don't have to.
You're saying you don't have to.
You just get one. Brodaks sells that syringe with the
The monoject or whatever.
whatever the heck it is. Put the superfill in there, squirt a turd on there,
Take your finger.
and wipe it off, and you're done. It's
Try
great.
that.
See, everybody comes up with something different.
Yeah.
I never would have thought of that.
You
Yeah.
just cut a hole in the monoject big enough so that you get
Yeah.
the size turn you want.
Right.
I like sanding too,
What?
but
The appropriate
the masking
diameter.
tape
Yeah.
thing works very well.
Mhm.
And then you just run your finger down it, and then you pull that tape off,
Yep.
and then you can smooth those edges, and
Yeah.
you're done.
You don't even have
But
to
make
sand.
sure you keep that finger moist, because if you
Yes.
don't,
It ripples.
Come right with
it,
it.
it pulls it and makes it rough.
It makes it look crappy.
Yeah. But that syringe deal worked good. Wasn't my idea, but I liked it. So
Yeah, I do too.
I'm using it. You have to pull the plunger out and stick
Yeah.
it in there, and then put it,
Yeah.
That's a good idea, though.
and then make sure you clean it up good when you're done.
Oh, I just figured you threw it away with your money.
Yeah, yeah.
He sells it.
Get you
Yeah,
trash.
just tell them, say it's only good for one use, buddy. So make sure you get all your fillets done. Throw it away, but I got plenty more to sell you.
Yeah. If I had your money, I'd burn mine.
Well,
Good stuff, Bob.
anybody else?
Thank you, Bob.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
If you want to talk about it tomorrow and mention it, if everybody wants to, I'll sure do it.
Well, I want to
Thank you.
appreciate you guys.
Thanks
You
Thanks for coming.
That's fair.
Hope I
giving
helped
the
you.
seminar.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You betcha.
From now on, whenever you see me, I'm gonna have my finger wet.
Okay.
Thank you, Bob.
You betcha.
You're gonna have your what?
Thank you.
Finger.
Oh, yes, yes.
Don't go there.
Robert, thank you very much.
Appreciate it. You're on. You'll be on the.
Okay.
You'll be uploaded by the end of the
I hope-
evening.
I hope this thing.
I'm not gonna get